take each of these four places and tell me, and obviously the book details this, but in the time we have here for this television conversation, give me one story that best illustrates what you took away from each of these four places. And we'll start with Chechnya.
I think the lack of psychological support that exists in communities that are living sort of suspended, waiting to go back to their homes. That was the thing that I saw that was neglected.
Burma?
The issue of child soldiers, the fact that Burma employs one of the highest numbers of child soldiers in the world, and what is the international community doing about that? I mean, I realize that it's funny that I'm an actor sitting up here, and what do I know about it? But I mean, sitting in front of these kids who had just escaped from the Burmese army, and they're looking at me and they're telling me that they want to go home, and they can't. And, you know, what are we doing about it? And I can't answer that question. I mean, finally, Amnesty is now releasing some kind of an action against the use and employment of child soldiers in Burma, but more needs to be done.
Malawi?
Malawi was the most surprising trip. I mean, Malawi changed everything for me. I met a woman named Miriam, and you know, Malawi is one of the poorest countries in the world. And I think the issue, people have heard a lot about the issue of HIV/AIDS in Africa, but not enough is being done. So I think I was sort of daunted by how to tackle this. And I met this woman who was not out about her status. Well, knowing her, she discovered that her daughter has HIV, and she herself is positive. And she changed the way I thought about all of it, because it was the last trip I went on, and she taught me about grace. She taught me that nobody wants your pity. No, they don't want your pity. Like, we don't want, I am dignified, I'm proud, I have something to say, I am educated, I have something to contribute. And she taught me about the grace in which she handles sort of the extremities that she lives within. And because of her, and because of my experience with these boys in a juvenile prison in Malawi, most of whom are HIV/AIDS orphans, I decided to set up a creative writing program in that prison, because I saw firsthand that these kids had a lot to say. One of the kids wrote, which is in the back of the Malawi book, "My goodness is my wisdom, which is my strength and my future." Now, a kid writes that. How can you not respond to that? So Rachel is, or Miriam is now, I changed her name, but she's now going to be running the program in Malawi. We got funding from CauseCast. We launch in March. Chris Abani did the curriculum, who's a wonderful writer. And my sister is finishing the curriculum, and I'm going to do my best for those boys.
The last stop I did mention was Juarez, Mexico,
It's terrible. It's just terrible. The women, you know, for those, you know, the women who worked in factories who were chosen and picked to be killed were young, you know, attractive women, and they were chosen because they were poor. And it's just outrageous that the Mexican government has done nothing to stop it.
Let me move toward my exit question here, and I want to preface it by going back to the first part of our conversation when you suggested to me that you did this book, I Live Here, in part because you just felt like you weren't contributing enough a few years ago. So you do a project like this. I could interpret this text one of two ways: that you now feel like you've made a contribution, or now you're even more overwhelmed about the challenges the world faces.
I'm not overwhelmed.
That you've been so close to it.
No, I've just started. My goal now, I'm going to get that book into as many universities as I can. This book needs to be taught. I mean, so I have a whole plan out there. MIT asked me to teach there, so I'm teaching a course on the book in January.
That's high cotton to be asked by MIT.
I was a special ed kid. Do you know? No, seriously.
And now you're teaching at MIT.
You know what? And I said it when I went on the book tour. Like, I said, you know what? I was, like, considered one of the dumb kids at school. Like, I was, you know, that they put you on the at-risk list at school, and I was one of those kids. Like, I can't spell. I'm terrible at math. But I did it. And MIT asked me to teach there, and I finished the book. And I feel like if I can do this, anybody can do something like that. And it makes me It makes me proud. So yes, I've just begun and I'm excited. I feel like I have a lot to do.
It's a wonderful feeling.
Yeah, it is.
To know that you're making a contribution and to know that you can even do more than you've already done.
Yes, it's beginning.
Yeah. Well, that's a good, there's a moral for all of us, I think, in that whatever it is that you are doing, you can do more. And my grandmother used to always tell me, the more you do, the more you can do.
Yeah.
The more you do, the more you can do. The book by Mia Kirshner is called I Live Here. It will move you. I'll just leave it at that. I Live Here is the book. Mia, nice to have you on the program.
Thank you for having me.
All the best to you in your work.
Thank you.
To learn more, visit pbs.org/TavisSmiley.